Well, he just did. He just scored 8 points. That's the thing. He had a career. Yep.
Every loss, the weight of every loss, dramatically changed the season.
Listening to the Sportz Nutz.
Yes, you are. You were listening to the Sportz Nutz. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 54. Officially, though, Matt, you know this is like video number 94, right?
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, episode 54. Going through our midlife crisis right now. Hey, man, I need to go buy a motorcycle, man. Just cause.
Oh Lord, here we go. Buying the motorcycle stuff. Come on now, Matt. You're killing me. Don't mind if you do see a little bit of a cloudy haze. I'm gonna zoom in. Let me see if you guys can see. Okay, good. We don't see it, but if you do see it, Cassie accidentally overcooked something a little bit and it got a little smoky in here. So
sure, Brandon. Whatever you do in your house is your business, man.
Stop telling my secrets, doggone it.
Hey, man. Sure.
Oh my gosh! But guys, we have probably by far the best episode we've had for season 2. I mean, yes, we've had some great guests. Trust me. The guest we're going to have tonight, I mean, he is legend. He legit is. And I'm not just saying that just because he really is. If you don't know who we're talking about, I posted his videos on our Facebook page, on my Facebook page, as well as the Twitter page. So check them out if you can. Obviously, you know, we idolize him. I will let you know, the gentleman that we have coming on, he has to communicate through a computer, so it does take a second, but please ask your questions, get involved. He is a man among men. I absolutely admire this gentleman. But Matt, what's been going on in the Thomas household this past weekend, man?
Man, you know, was a little under the weather a little bit, man. You know, dealt with a couple of migraines, but still was able to kind of see what was going on in the sports world, man. And of course, man, you know, I'm always there for the upset, you know, whenever my squad wants to upset somebody, you know.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Week 0.
I knew it was gonna come.
Come on, man. You know, I had to turn it to, you know, I got a text message, hey, you need to, so I turned it on and
wait. Remember, I sent you a message and I said, dude, how about your boys? I mean, like,
yeah.
Guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, Georgia Tech is Matt's team, folks. They upset number 4 ranked undefeated Miami. Heck of a win. I mean, like, Matt, Georgia Tech, I think they might be back. You know, I really feel they might be back. What do you think?
I think we had a couple of losses that we shouldn't have, like against Syracuse. You know, there's a couple of teams that beat us that we probably should have won, that we were actually better than, but they just outplayed us. So I don't think we're going to make the top 12. Hopefully we get ranked after, you know, this week. I gotta check the rankings. Actually, I haven't checked the rankings, but
South Carolina's ranked, folks, and I know people are excited about that.
Yeah, I know. But you know, overall, we get a bowl game, so I mean, yeah, can't complain at all.
Absolutely. Hey, how about Georgia Tech? I mean, Georgia, like University of Georgia, like literally, this was a strange weekend for sports in general. Look, you guys see the team that I'm representing, that our guest is actually representing as well. And, man, they were so close, but they gave a valiant effort against UNLV, Matt. And,
they did.
You know, I talked to Rob DeMello for KHON2, and he says if Hawaii goes 6-6, they still have a chance to get a bowl game. You know, folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, the University of Hawaii has this rule. It's literally called the Hawaii Rule. What is the Hawaii Rule? Well, I'm so glad you asked. It's the University of Hawaii gets 13 games, actually. It's to make up for like budgetary issues and stuff. It was a whole story done on ESPN about it. Check it out. It's really interesting. It's a unique situation. Obviously, it's sad because this year we didn't get a chance to enjoy it because Oregon, backed out of the whole campaign against Hawaii. So, but anyways, Matt, let's quickly give a good shout out to our good friends, our sponsors at Tequila's Grill and Easy. Look, guys, authentic, affordable, like delicious Mexican cuisine. Matt's favorite. Look, Matt has told me I'm coming up there soon. I'm gonna get some tequilas. I'm getting some tequilas. he's not, just pulling a rabbit out of his hat. He's being truthful because why? It's some of the best food around, some of the best prices around. And you guys see what's right behind me is the Christmas trees. Holiday season is knocking on the door. You want to have a place to have your corporate event? Get on down the road to Call Tequilas. 864-307-8028. Better yet, stop on by 5155 Calhoun Memorial Highway in Easley, South Carolina, 29640. That is Tequila's Grill in Easley. I promise you guys, you're not going to be disappointed. All right, Matt. We have kept our fans waiting long enough. This gentleman is a former football coach. Actually, I still think he is a football because he knows football. Him and I, Matt, I tell you, Brian and I talk so much about UH and every sport imaginable. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is a very good friend of ours, Mr. Brian Kajiyama. Remember, folks, he has to communicate through a computerized voice. You're going to want to talk to this gentleman. He's a great guy. Brian, how are you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me on the Sportz Nutz, Brandon and Matt. When I listen to you introduce me, I'm like, is he speaking about another person?
Oh, Brian, you crack me up. Man, I got to tell you, you and I talk literally all the time. I love our conversations. We just talk about life. We talk about UH sports. We talk about everything imaginable. I'm just like, I love knowing that you are a true and genuine person, and I'm beyond excited to have you on. I'm beyond excited to have you as a friend. And I had a blue shirt on earlier, but I had to put it on for you. What do you think? Look good, right? All right, Matt. So you are the first. You get to ask the first question, sir. Please, the floor is yours.
Awesome. First of all, Brian, thank you very much for coming on our show, man. We really appreciate it, man. Like Brandon said, man, you're a legend. You're a legend. But anyways, let's go on and hop to it. We have a few questions for you. The question I have is, pretty much your journey has been an incredible journey. Can you share what initially sparked your passion for advocating for people with disabilities?
My passion for advocating for people with disabilities started in intermediate school. When I first started intermediate school, the administrators didn't really know how I would perform academically. So I was placed in basic general education classes. At the end of the first quarter of the school year, I had earned a 4.0 GPA. I'm thinking, man, this intermediate school thing is way easier than my time in elementary school. Then the school administrators decided to challenge me. They moved me into gifted and talented classes for English and social studies. I don't think many people know this fact about gifted and talented classes, but they are under the umbrella of special education. I enjoyed being challenged and loved learning about Shakespeare in my English class. However, my social studies class, that was located on the second floor of the school, definitely would have not been a problem if there was an elevator. There was no elevator. If memory serves me well, it took the school about a quarter to arrange to have that gifted and talented social studies class. It took them that long to logistically move the class down to the first floor. In the interim, I remained in my basic social studies class, which I was totally fine with because it was easy for me. However, when I would go to my English class, my peers would ask me, "Hey, why are you not with us for social studies?" because it was kind of like a package deal where if you were in gifted and talented English, you would also be in gifted and talented social studies. My answer was I could not get up to the second floor. After fielding questions like that from more than a handful of peers, I thought I must be missing out a lot on learning better things with my peers on the second floor. So I discussed this with my parents and we met with school administrators to question what it would take to get an elevator installed. And we were very realistic in knowing that an elevator would likely not be installed by the time an intermediate school came to an end. My hope was to make it better for the next student who might need access to the second floor. I wrote a letter to the Hawaii State Department of Education, explaining why they should make things more accessible. And one way was to install an elevator so I could be included in learning with my peers. I believe the elevator was installed maybe a week before my graduation from intermediate school. However, I rode that elevator as much as I could before moving on to my high school. I don't know how many students, or even teachers, I don't know how many people have used that elevator since I moved on. My hope is I made things better for at least one person. As I grew more as a human being, I would see other issues that made me think this is not fostering an inclusive environment. One of my main highlights of being at the University of Hawaii at Manoa's College of Education. When I first stepped foot into the College of Education's building, which is called West Hall. And keep in mind, the Department of Special Education is housed in West Hall. The main entrance had heavy doors. So, someone using a wheelchair would need to pull the door open and then hurry to get in the doorway. All the while having the door closing on you pretty quickly. This one took so much advocating. And I was not the only person who worked on advocating for an automatic door opener. But it took placing my neck on the line. For instance, the school's newspaper ran by students. They asked if I wanted them to write a story about the lack of accessibility. I immediately said yes, because this would be a platform to get the higher-ups to recognize there was a problem. Long story short, I got called into the dean of the college. Got called into the dean's office. I thought he'd be happy with my advocacy work. No such thing. He said, if you ever have issues, come to me first. Interestingly, the student newspaper with the story quickly emptied from the paper stands around the College of Ed. I think I started emailing people, writing letters, making videos. I did all of that with other people starting in 2000. I also knew other students had been working on this issue before my arrival at the College of Education. After hearing many excuses as to why an automatic door opener would not work in this specific location, finally in 2010 or thereabouts, the work was done and I could enter my building by pressing the button. And I would smile even more when seeing others using that button as well. People without disabilities who may be coming in with materials for class, they were now able to enter without having to place their items on the ground. I think that would be something I'll be grateful I could be a part of when my time at the University of Hawaii comes to an end. But advocating for people with disabilities is something we all can do regardless of ability. It just requires time and a persistent mindset.
Very well said, Brian. Look, my good friend here, Brian. I'm going to show you his. If you can see the comment, this is my good friend Chase Cravey. His brother, their good friend Robert, and my cousin Cody have a podcast, Dirty Fanatics United. He gives the thumbs up having you on. He is watching, and Chase, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. All right, so Brian, you and I, we talk all the time about UH and what is going on with the team. We recently saw that UH has become a full-time member of the Mountain West Conference. Actually, they'll be officially in 2026. Now we have also seen reports that Toledo, Northern Illinois, and even Grand Canyon, which they just did agree to join as a non-football member, of course, they've had talks to join. We have also seen reports that North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana, and Montana State are interested in possibly joining. With these schools possibly joining the Mountain West Conference, do you think this helps the Mountain West Conference's case to be a Power 5 and not a Group of 5, or no?
With any mid-major school, I feel it's important for them to come together and carve out their own lane in college sports. In terms of having the Mountain West Conference moving from a Group 5 entity to a Power 5 entity, that question is one that your big guest tomorrow would be better positioned to answer. My feeling is that it will still be very challenging for a non-Power 4 entity to move up to the status of a Power 5. Money drives everything, and I'm not in a position to know how the finances are projected to look like.
And folks, what Brian is talking about, tomorrow we have a special episode of the Sportz Nutz, and it's actually a lot earlier than our normal time. It will be at 6 p.m. Eastern, which is 1 p.m. Hawaiian. The athletic director of the University of Hawaii, Mr. Craig Angelos, is coming on. It will be for a 30-minute episode, so please make sure you guys arrive early and arrive to watch. It's going to be a great episode. Matt, you have the next question. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I do. So, Brian, you've been heavily involved with the University of Hawaii's football team. How did that opportunity come about, and what has that opportunity meant to you?
I'm just the opening it for the bigger guest tomorrow. In any case, I've always loved Hawaii football. As a child, I would go to games with my dad, my aunt, and uncle. We had season tickets and would attend every home game, rain or shine, losing or winning teams. It did not matter. We'd be there since it was just fun to watch our football team do their thing each Saturday. Fast forward to my time as a college student. In 1999, when June Jones started his reign as head coach, I happened to be in a physical education class with some football players, including Jeff Elbrick. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine taking a class with the future head coach in the NFL. Some of the players encouraged me to come out to watch practice. Fast forward to 2006. I was still going to practices in the morning before my classes began. I must have been pursuing my master's degree, which was in vocational rehabilitation counseling. Jeff Reinbold was a grad assistant at the time and we became fast friends. The other coaches knew me since I was there at nearly every practice. The players knew me as well. I began spending time in the coaches' offices for the majority of the day since my classes were held in the evenings as a master's student. Soon I found myself helping input game breakdowns in Jerry Glanville's office on a computer he did not care to use. Or know how to even turn on. It was rather amazing to be around such a legend like Jerry on a daily basis. And he would bust my chops about anything and I would fire right back. It was just fun to be around that. Basically, I was volunteering through the 2006 season, enjoying every moment. I had zero expectations going forward. When signing period came around, Jeff Reinbold asked me to create a highlight video showcasing our new recruits. Keep in mind, back in 2006 we were still using VHS tapes. So I had to convert tapes into digital form and then edit them. I did not think this video would be the main video that the team would use to distribute to the local media. In fact, the morning of signing day, Jeff called me to cut out a certain player or two, as they chose not to become Warriors. Then he said, "We need a video done by 10 a.m. So I went to campus and used a computer in my mentor's office in the Department of Special Education. Video takes time to render. I was doing all I could to speed up things, but I just had to patiently wait for the computer to do its thing. I start getting calls from Jeff again. "Hey, where are you? We're all waiting for you in the Stan Sheriff Center." I still have no clue this video that was rendering would be the main show. Finally, I get the DVD out from the drive. Rush down to the athletic department. A 15-minute stroll from West Hall. I made it down there at 10 on that day. Room filled with local media. Coach Jones sitting by the projector. He tells the media, "This is Brian Kajiyama. He created our video for signing day." This was news I didn't know till that exact moment. Everyone was pleased with the video and I'm thinking, man, that was so stressful. Later in the week, there was a function somewhere in Waikiki to see a magic show. But to also show this video I created to fans. Initially, I was not going to this event, as I really had no idea about it. I wasn't in on meetings or schedules at that time. Jeff tells me, "Hey, you'll be at the event, right?" I'm like, "Yes, definitely." What I must mention at this point, my parents, Bert and Grace, deserve very much of the credit as they were very supportive of what I was doing with the team. Even if it meant keeping crazy hours, going to bed late, waking up very early so I would be on time on campus. So June pops in the DVD and he tells the audience, "This is Brian," and he made our signing day video, which was really done well. I thought, alright, this is cool. Again, I have zero expectations going forward. Well, in the spring I received an email from June's assistant asking me about my sizing for apparel. Then I think June casually said to me one day in passing, "I'm glad you'll be one of our grad assistants this season." It finally hit me when I had access to the locker room for coaches. And on top of a locker space, I think it was B6, but it had my name, Brian Kajiyama, and it had gear hanging in it. I'm like, holy cow, this is really happening. Being a part of the team was such a special thing. I felt like I belonged, and everyone made me feel included. Players would not hesitate to help make me a plate at training table. By the way, training table is such a treat as you literally could not go hungry after enjoying all kinds of food there.
Wow.
I really enjoyed working with the other coaches as well. Greg McMacken was the defensive coordinator, so I worked under him for the 2007 season. Anything he needed done, I would do it. I was in charge of binders with our scout team play sheets. I was in charge of making sure everyone on the defensive side of the ball had copies of the practice plan for the day. During the day, I would continue breaking down film for the next opponent. On game day, I made sure he had a copy of the timeline for pre-game activities, even if it was almost the same each week. He just wanted something tangible to refer to in his hands, as opposed to having to read the chalkboard in the locker room. It was fun, but admittedly a lot of work. I think everyone wants to feel like they belong. Being a part of the Hawaii Warriors football team helped me feel that.
Amen to that. And look, Brian, like I said, you're still a coach to me. I will still see you as a coach. You know, you when you once you're part of a coaching program, you're a coach for life.
Yeah.
You know, I coached football. People still, you know, a good friend of mine and Matt's is Coach Vince. He still calls me Coach Brandon to this day. I'm actually coaching Addison's AU basketball team, and it's nice to be called Coach again. You know, so you are going to be forever known as Coach Kajiyama. Just be prepared for that one. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. So also, in your experience, what's the biggest misconception about people with disabilities, particularly in the world of sports?
Biggest misconception about people with disabilities. I would say people assume anyone with a disability, even if it's only a physical one. They can tend to assume there is some cognitive impairment as well. As far as sports go, I would say the biggest misconception that drives me nuts is that Special Olympics is for anyone with a disability. Special Olympics is only for those individuals who have an intellectual disability. When I was in high school, one of my best friends and I went to speak with the bowling coach since we wanted to be on the bowling team. I use a ramp to bowl, which sounds easier than it sounds. In any case, this individual told me that I could bowl with the Special Olympics. So my friend and I decided not to bowl, and it was just nice to have the support of my friend who decided he would not bowl even if he could have easily said, "All right, sorry Brian, I want to bowl for the school." But in general, I'd say most people, regardless of ability, Most people can enjoy sports and all of the excitement and happiness that can come from being a part of it, be it as a competitor or a casual fan.
You know, Brian, we've seen a lot during our fandom at the University of Hawaii. Obviously, the most memorable season is 2007. You know, you got the honor of being the grad assistant for UH. In other words, people don't know grad assistants are, like we said, they're coaches. You've seen firsthand, obviously, now what it takes to be a coach. Given what's gone on lately with the football team, what do you personally think needs to change in order to return to the style of play that we saw from the late 90s to the early 2010s?
It was definitely an honor to be a graduate assistant coach in 2007. In terms of what needs to change, I'm in no position to question what's going on with head coach Timmy or his coaching staff or even players who are currently on our team. I know they're definitely trying their best to put a winning product on the field because they're very aware about how they'll ultimately be judged. That said, Hawaii has challenges that the larger schools may not have. For one, Timmy coming in and not having a legitimate stadium, like Aloha Stadium, to call home is something that our state leaders have screwed up massively. Secondly, in the age of name, image, and likeness, NIL, we are nowhere near having the deep pockets that other schools have, so this impacts who we can bring in. I view it this way. We as fans of the Hawaii Warrior football team need to be grateful for all players who choose. Players choose to be a part of the Hawaii Warrior football brotherhood. We have the personnel and it's just a matter of eliminating the small mistakes. Timmy speaks to his team about having an elite mindset. And what he means by this is paying attention to the little details in the game, not incurring selfish penalties that can be drive killers. Catching balls if they hit your hands as a receiver. And just protecting the ball and limit as much of the turnovers as possible. I still believe in the team. I know a handful of the coaches on their staff now, so I truly want them to succeed. Our fan base here in Hawaii, patience isn't always something the fan base can have. I would just preach patience, as I believe in the team. Be it the coaching staff and the players. Our time will come.
Amen to that one. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so how do you think the sports world can better support the inclusivity and accessibility for athletes and fans with disabilities?
I was watching something the Oregon Ducks put up on YouTube. It was a video of the Disability Services Coordinator at the University of Oregon. She happens to be blind, but is an avid football fan. They showed her going to a game with, I think, her husband for the first time. And he would literally do the play-by-play for her. However, when the Ducks scored, the noise in the stadium got her super excited, even if she might not have known what happened since it got so loud that her husband couldn't tell her what had happened yet. But everyone around her started high-fiving each other. She couldn't see this, so she explained to a fan near her that she was blind. But she would love to high-five her the next time the Ducks scored. So each time the Ducks scored from then on, she had someone who sought her out just to give her a high five. And that makes sports such an inclusive activity and why sports are such a beautiful thing in a society where everything seems so divisive. But if we can make sports accessible to all people, that's how we can bring in that much more fans.
And you're right on what you said on the nail on the head there, Brian. Sports unifies everything, regardless of what's going on in the world today. Whether you're left, whether you're right, whether you're up, whether you're down, in whatever direction in the world, whether you're having all these issues going on in the world across on the other side of the pond, sports unifies everything. It's just something about it. Matt and I, we talked about this heavily this year because of the Olympics. It's just like this sense of joy and happiness and everything just came about watching the Olympics. So you hit the nail right on the head, though, with unification. Matt, go ahead.
Absolutely. So, Brian, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your journey, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Some of my biggest challenges included things like having classmates call me bad names. Having a great support group helped me get through such challenging times. Because as a kid, you really don't expect to have your peers call you names just because you may need to use a wheelchair to get around. I'd say you really need to develop a thick skin. Honestly, growing older helps with that because at this point in life, I think I've heard every name possible. So things like that don't bother me as much, but then again, I'm nearing age 50. I would tell my younger self, tune out the noise and just focus on those people in life who breathe positivity into your life.
Brian, as a motivational speaker, what is the core message that you aim to deliver to your audiences?
Nick Saban, retired legendary coach from Alabama. He said it's hard to motivate or inspire anyone who has no aspirations. And that really resonated with me, because I've gone out to speak to kids in high school. Their teachers thought I could motivate them to do more than what they were currently doing. What I found is I honestly have not been very successful in this endeavor. So I really thought about Saban's words regarding aspirations. Aspiration simply means what goals someone already has within them. I could speak to someone every day, going over the same messaging day in and day out. But if that individual does not have the same goals or dreams within them, anything I might say would not have an impact. However, I would still take any opportunity to try and reach any audience. You never know who might be listening. And you also don't know how your words could impact someone's day or even life in general. My core message in most of my speeches is the importance of hope. Without hope, you really have nothing. But with hope, if you approach every day with a joyful sense of hope, you will place yourself in a position to just have more happiness in your day. Hope is a powerful thing to have, since it definitely can impact those around us in a very powerful way. So never ever lose joyful hope.
Absolutely. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, and pretty much, Brian, your answer kind of ties into this next question that I have. But what advice would you give to children who may have a disability? You know, we hear all the time people say that children with disabilities can't often do quote unquote normal things in life, but how do you motivate them as well?
With children, I actually find them to be one of my favorite audience to speak with. First, they really pay attention because they likely have not seen anyone like me speaking in front of them. I do this whole thing where I ask them a series of questions. Questions designed to highlight that we all have differences. For instance, some people wear glasses. Some need to use crutches to get around. And then I ask them how each of these different groups feel if others tease them. They say sad, or mad, angry. You get the point, so I tell them yes, you are correct. Then I try to help them realize that they have the power to make others feel really happy, or feel really sad or angry. I just remind them to choose to make their peers feel happy as much as they can.
You know, I gotta sit here and say this, Brian. I'm actually, I 100. You know, I have, unfortunately, I have a mental disability. You know, I have bipolar disorder. I am also, as you know, I suffered a widowmaker last July, and I'm still to this day not getting better the way I had hoped. Matt is well versed in knowing what's going on as well. Brian, I don't know if I had told you this. I told Matt that we have a fear that I may have had another small setback over the weekend, and we're actually going to see the cardiologist because of the potential of what we thought has happened. So, you're right. People sit there and they have different perspectives of people who have a form of a disability. I have somebody in my family who discredited the widowmaker, and it took several other family members opening their eyes to say this was a legit and serious health issue. And then I've had knee surgeries. I've had 6 knee surgeries, and people still said, when I hurt, they were like, oh, that's nothing. You're fine and dandy. You're right. People have this awful perception that they give with people with disabilities. When you look back at this, what impact do you think adaptive sports and opportunities like those you've been a part of can have on younger generations with individuals with disabilities?
Adaptive sports are slowly becoming more and more prevalent in society, which is a wonderful thing. As I mentioned, I bowled in the past with a ramp which is much harder than it appears. I bowled in a league every Saturday morning for about 20 years. I think my highest score was 232, and that was an amazing feeling.
Woo, that's really good.
On the flip side, if the ball was not rolling my way and I had 3 bad games, man, I was really not fun to be around. My mindset was to dominate every single game. Sometimes I did all right, sometimes I did horribly. I took my horrible performances harder than I took my successes. But in general, I think all children should have an active childhood as much as possible, and opportunities to participate in adaptive sports can open this door. It can also lead to opening even larger doors later in their lives.
Brian, I got to quickly mention this because he's watching. A friend of ours, Mr. Blaze Smith, actually has cerebral palsy as well. He overcame the odds like you yourself have. He actually got the privilege to play football. So when people say you can't do it, I say, no, you can. You absolutely can do anything. I tell my kids all the time, I say, if you put your mind to it, you can do any and everything. Never say the words I can't, because you can. I'm an example of that too. I said I could never. I was told I could never play football. I could never play basketball in a competitive region, and I did. I was very good at my athletic abilities. Matt, he too has been told you can't do certain things because Matt's not 6'10" or 7-footer. He's not this. But Brian, I don't know if you've seen several times. Matt will tell you I'm 6'5". Matt has dunked over me quite a few times. Matt, how tall are you?
I'm just a measly 6 feet tall. That's it.
Yeah, he's shorter than me, and he skied over me. So people, whoever sits there and says XYZ and
We
ABC
need to
and Joe
have
can
that
do
on video.
it. Oh, you just got showed. No,
Maybe on an 8-foot hoop. On an 8-foot hoop now. We can do that.
Come on, Brian. We're showing our ages here. We're not supposed to show our age. Come on now.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Go. You got the next question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Brian, your relationship with former Hawaii coach June Jones is very well known. So can you share how that mentorship has shaped you both personally and professionally?
Being around Coach June Jones was very special. I remember sitting with him during lunch at training table during fall camp, and he would share stories about trips to Ireland since he really loved golf. I got to know his son, also named June the 3rd, but his nickname was Junior. I got to see Junior grow up into a fine young man. I think he's living in Hawaii and selling homes as a realtor. Professionally, I'd say June taught me that you don't need to yell or say bad words to get a message across as a head coach. Let your assistant coaches do all the yelling and swearing. I don't think many know what I'm about to share. But when June left for SMU, of course I was heartbroken, as was the entire state. But we kept in contact. In 2009, June's first or second year at SMU, they were invited to the Hawaii Bowl. I did their pregame chapel with the Hawaii football chaplain at that time, Pastor Norman Nakanishi. I believe SMU beat Nevada. Then in 2012, SMU was invited to the Hawaii Bowl again and played Fresno State. This time, June asked if I'd consider doing their pregame chapel myself. I said of course and spoke to the SMU Mustangs. They went on to beat Fresno State 43-10. That presentation I shared in pregame chapel. That led to an invitation to speak at SMU's team banquet in spring of 2013. The whole trip was done top-notch. June's assistant, Terry Gardner, took care of all the logistics, booking flights for me and my parents, arranging accessible transportation in Dallas, Texas. I got to meet a young man named Keelan Lawson, who also had cerebral palsy, and I had recorded a video for his elementary school's Disability Awareness Day maybe a few years prior to actually meeting Keelan and his family in person. Keelan is now at Texas Tech studying sports administration, so that's been very uplifting to be a small part of. But in general, I know people have all these differing opinions about June Jones. I just see him as a genuinely caring human being who also happens to have a brilliant football mind.
You're right. I have a good friend. Matt's had the privilege of hearing. We've had him on our show. Coach Bob Spire, who is now back in Kentucky, runs the same system that June ran, and he actually has told us that June was his idol. So June, he is a very inspirational man. When I got the privilege of meeting Drew Jones, I said, we still talk about you to this day in Atlanta because of what he was able to accomplish. He's a great individual. He's a great coach. Do I think he deserves to be in the College Football Hall of Fame? I absolutely do, because of what he did for the 98 season. They went from literally the worst team in college football to Western Athletic Conference champions. Went from 0-12 to 9-4. I mean, that's a significant improvement. I mean, no one is to this date has ever done that, and no one, I believe, will ever do that, because it takes time to go from worst to first, and he did it in one run. Brian, we saw our good friend Colt suffer from his interpersonal demons, and unfortunately, he did lose his life. Colt made such a huge impact on the team and the state and the fan base. I still have his jersey, and my daughters are like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Don't touch that jersey." Colt's jersey is like, I have a shrine for him, right? What is one thing you took away from Colt that could still be implemented in today's world?
Colt's story is a tough one. We actually met at the neighborhood park right up the street from me. Maybe about 6 months before we lost him. But during that encounter, I was just so grateful that I had the ability to thank him for all he did, along with his teammates in 2007. I thanked him for affording me a platform that media outlets like CBS College Sports, ESPN, the New York Times, and more. Those outlets would have no idea I even existed were it not for Colt Brennan and that special 2007 team. During our get-together, Colt mentioned wanting to give back by coaching youth football. What I think we can take away from Colt's story in a positive way is his genuine love and passion for the state of Hawaii. He loved calling Hawaii home. He loved representing Hawaii anytime he was on a national platform. So if we can just love others like Colt and share the same passion he had for the state of Hawaii, we would be all the better because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you don't know who we're talking about, folks, we're talking about Colt Brennan, who was and still is a Hawaii football legend. He revolutionized the game of football. He took what was not possible and made it possible. And we are, we UH fans, we are forever indebted to Colt for what he did for the state, for the fan base, for the team, everything. He put Hawaii back on the map. I'm not taking anything away from Coach Chang. Timmy Chang has done phenomenal things in his time as both a player and as a coach. But Colt did an amazing thing as well. We've seen a lot of great players walk through Aloha Stadium. Matt, go ahead. You're the next question.
Yeah, Brian. In terms of advocacy, what changes would you like to see in the education systems to support students with disabilities?
As far as changes I'd like to see in education systems to better support students with disabilities, I'd say incorporating more concepts from this framework called Universal Design for Learning, UDL. UDL is based on the notion of creating educational curriculum that is accessible for all students. Instead of creating individual lessons to meet the needs of individual students, UDL purposefully builds inaccessible features in the planning process so once a lesson is to be delivered, it's good to go. There is no reverse engineering required to make it accessible because as an educator, you've already thought of modifications to make that lesson accessible to students of all abilities. I also believe inclusion needs to be implemented more, or should I say better implemented. Inclusion is not just about placing students with disabilities in a general education setting and just having that child be around their peers. Inclusion means all children learn together. A general educator and a special educator work in conjunction, as equals, to prepare lessons that are accessible to all children. We've still got work to do to fully get there. But if you're asking me what changes I'd like to see in the education system, I would start there. Get all teachers better trained on what inclusion truly means, what inclusion can look like, and what they can do collaboratively as teachers to make inclusion a reality in all schools.
Absolutely, and Brian, I don't know if I told you, my wife is actually a teacher for a school that is the first of its kind. It's the first free charter school for dyslexic children. It's called Lakes and Bridges Charter School. Shout out to them. And my wife has said she because she wished that she had something similar to Lakes and Bridges when she was in school because of the ability for people to understand the diversity that's required for teaching people with dyslexia. It really is amazing, and you see, I see it now as well that there were kids that I grew up with who had those kind of issues. They couldn't really grasp the understanding of education the way Joe A and Joe B could do. And I commend everybody who has a better understanding of children with disabilities because it's not easy. No one has sat there and said life is easy. For those who say it's easy to do this, it's easy to do that, it's not. It's life. Life is difficult, but it's how we handle it that makes us better. And Brian, you legit have you've been a great advocate for those with disabilities. Matt, go ahead. You have another question.
Yeah, I do, Brian. So looking forward, what projects or goals are you most excited about in your career?
I just hope to make a positive impact on any project I work on going forward in my career. We all need to remember that our time here on Earth is rather short. If you look at the larger picture, we really don't have a whole lot of time on Earth before God calls us home. Not to get somber, but I feel like sometimes we lose sight of that really simple but impactful fact. We only have X amount of time to accomplish great things. Therefore, embracing every opportunity to hopefully promote positivity in these seemingly dark times is something we must never shy away from. I hope to leave my department at the University of Hawaii better than it was when I got there. I can't predict the future, but whatever projects come my way, I'll pour my heart into it with the hope that it could cause a ripple effect of positivity. And on a personal level, I still hope to find my human partner for life, and I think fatherhood would be such an amazing journey to embark on should that happen. If not, I'll just try to do my best to help society to become better and more inclusive in any way I can.
You know, Brian, you're right. Being a parent, it's something different. Matt's a father to a beautiful daughter. I have the privilege of having become a girl dad 4 times over. I got to quickly mention this too, because you mentioned that. A friend of mine, her name is Elizabeth Scott. She's watching. She has made the announcement today that she is going to start the process of adopting a child. She's going to be a mother. And I say, I'm so proud of her. I'm proud to hear that. Even if you can't biologically create a child, you can still be a parent. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Zane and Felicia G, shout out to them. They did that. They fostered a young man. His name is Josh. Greatest kid, that I can imagine. And it was a couple years ago. He had the privilege to officially become a full-fledged member of our family. And parenthood is it's hard, but showing that you care and giving that extra 1%, it really makes a difference, Brian. And I know you will be a great person for whomever. If you get the chance to be a parent, that's great. If not, you're still going to be a great person no matter what. And I appreciate everything about you. Our good friend Blaze, by the way, Brian,
My
he is shouting
problem
you
is
out
just
tonight.
finding someone who can't stand my personality over a long time.
Wait, didn't you say Jeff was supposed to give you great advice for getting a woman? How is that going, by the way? Sorry, Jeff, got to shout you out there. I know you're watching.
That failed miserably.
Look, Jeff, we're already calling you out. Come on, Coach Rambo, we're calling you out. All right, so Brian, the way the game is today, it's different than years past, obviously. Like, even from the 2010 era to now, the game has changed. It's still a very violent game, yes, but they have improved a lot with head injuries. We've recently seen the news how Brett Favre now has Parkinson's disease at an early age due to so many head injuries. I mean, we real quick that on that there. We also have seen Chris Olave from the New Orleans Saints just suffered his 5th concussion, I believe, in 3 years in professional level, not including the collegiate level. What are your thoughts about how the game of football is changing the way head injuries take place now?
First, a quick shout out to Blaze since I see he's commented again.
Yep.
Let's face it, football is a violent sport. And sadly, the violence is a large part of why people love it so much. However, we really need to figure out how to protect players at any level of football from head injuries. I'm not a parent, but if I was, I really don't know if I would allow my child to play tackle football. I have seen how hits to the head can impact someone's life well beyond a football career. Is it worth making a lot of money playing a game? Playing a game and then not being able to enjoy all of your riches because you have taken too many shots to the head. Possibly a very unpopular position, but I believe it is not worth it. Not worth it. But we can all still enjoy watching football, while acknowledging how much of a risk they're putting themselves through just by playing. With all this breakthroughs in science and technology, we really need to figure out how to make the game of football a game we all love. We need to make it safer so it can continue to grow and prosper, while ensuring players can end their careers and still enjoy their money after football.
You know, and it's funny we talk about this. I'm watching Western Michigan take on Bowling Green right now, and there is a player at Western Michigan who had to be carted off because he injured his neck. So you're right, folks. This game it's a very brutal game. I had a career-ending injury happen from football. I tore my ACL and MCL in football. Took a hit from a safety, and it tore my ligaments in my knee. And as like the story said, we're going on surgery number 7, and hopefully the last one will fix it. So we'll see. This has been such an amazing episode, Brian. I can't tell you enough how honored I personally, I know Matt is too, how honored we are to have had you come on our show. Let me ask you this real quickly, because Cassie wanted me to ask you this. We know your great Master Zeus, rest in peace. He was a great man, great dog, best dog you'll ever see. And the stories that you shared with me with Zeus, they still resonate. Look, you even had him published in a book that I have. And Cassie wanted to know: do you think you will ever have the privilege of having another forever friend to assist you? Because, obviously you can never replace Zeus. Zeus was an amazing animal. And then real quick, our good friend Trey Davis just responded: a lot of players I watched when I was a kid really suffered from head injuries. Dave DeRusin and Junior Seau are no longer with us because of brain injuries. Yes, that is true. There has unfortunately been a lot of players who have taken their lives because of a lot of head injuries.
Honestly, I do not see myself getting another service dog just because I don't think it would be fair to the next dog. I'd constantly be comparing the new dog to Zeus. But before you kick me out of here, I wanted to say thank you for inviting me to be on your Sportz Nutz podcast. I appreciated being invited and for your very thoughtful questions today. Being on any podcast was definitely not on my bingo card of things I get to do in life. So thank you again, Brandon and Matt.
No problem.
I'll gladly take any questions, or you can kick me out as you prepare to have your superstar guest tomorrow. One last thing I'd like to say is today you've seen and learned about one person with cerebral palsy. Please avoid the temptation to take a broad brush when thinking anyone with cerebral palsy will be like Brian Kajiyama. People with cerebral palsy, actually everyone, regardless of ability, Everyone will be unique. So you will run into people with cerebral palsy who will not look like me, speak like me, or think like me. And that's totally normal, as that's how life works. If any of you out there on YouTube have any questions, please use the comments section and I'll try my best to reply to everyone. I will not promise I'll answer every question or comment left in the comment section, just because I know my schedule and I really try to be mindful in what I promise. Thanks again, Brandon and Matt. This was fun.
Yes, it was.
You know, this was more than fun. This was amazing, Brian. Like, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm honored to have you as my friend. I enjoy, our conversations. I actually get excited when we start texting back and forth about, life, about UH. I mean, you're so. This is how kind he is, folks. He takes time out of his busy day to ask how my daughters are doing. That is a true friend. Brian is a true person. He is caring. He is kind, and I want you all to know, you are going to enjoy getting the chance to talk with them. Obviously, what we're going to do is we're going to let Brian do his thing. It is 8:41 our time, so it's a little after 3:40 his time. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. And hey, I'm gonna text you again because tomorrow the big man comes on. Please, if you can, get a question ready to ask him because he knows he knows you're on tonight because he's watched. Actually, I got a notification he watched. So if you get a chance, ask a question tomorrow. Sound good? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the man himself, Mr. Brian Kajiyama, we thank you so much, Brian, and we will talk again soon. Sound good? All right. Oh, he's typing.
Thank you and aloha from Hawaii.
Shoots, absolutely, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brian.
Man, that was such. Look, man, I can't thank him enough. I absolutely enjoyed having my good friend Brian Kajiyama come on our show, and I mean, you admit that he was pretty inspirational, right?
Yeah, man, that was definitely a great story, man. Definitely inspiration. He took the cards he was dealt, man, and he made the most out of it. So you have no choice but to give the utmost respect to somebody, who's taken the lemons that were thrown at him and made sweet lemonade with it.
That's right. Guys, we've had such a great time with you guys. You let us bend your ear for an hour and 13 minutes. But we do have lives. Matt, unfortunately, he's still at work, guys. He is still working. Like, Matt, come on, man.
Well, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do, man. You got to do what you got to do.
That's right. Look, guys, tomorrow, 6 p.m. sharp Eastern, which is 1 p.m. Hawaiian time. The athletic director, Craig Angelos of the University of Hawaii, our good friend Brian actually knows him. He is coming. He has agreed to come on our show for 30 minutes. Please share the word. Come on and watch the show. Everything. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk some Mountain West sports. We're going to talk about UH. Who knows what else? We may pull a rabbit out of a hat kind of thing. But we're going to have a lot of fun with it in general. So, like we always tell you guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Sportz Nutz 176. Look, we're at 132 subscribers. Let's get to that 145 by the end of the year. We can do this with your help. We absolutely can do it. Just go and click subscribe right now, and you get notifications when we have more videos. We're going to post some more shorts soon. We will get that going for you. Matt is finalizing a few more. Our TikTok page is up. So if you can download TikTok, go and follow us on TikTok. We will be more than ready to get you guys some more great content.
Yep.
So with that being said, as I always say to you, peace up, A-Town down. Why? Because this is the greatest city in all of America. Matt, what do you tell our lovely people not to get done?
Don't get flagged, guys.
That's right. Don't get flagged. Don't do something stupid. We're not bailing you out of jail. With that being said, guys, we love you. We thank you so much, a million times over, for coming on tonight, letting us bend your ear. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Remember, 6 p.m. Eastern sharp, 1 p.m. Hawaiian. Be there. Craig Angelos will be on the show. Until then, guys, we will see you tomorrow. Take care and bye-bye. Well, he just did. He just scored 8 points. That's the thing. He had a career